She'd forgotten she had a tail. She remembered now as the long, elegant, silver-scaled appendage whipped out and snagged its barbed tip through the strap of the bag. She whooped in pride as she pumped her wings furiously and gained altitude again. Unfortunately, the axe blade positioned immediately below the spear-like point at the end of her tail sliced through the strap, and the bag careened into a downward spiral once again. This time, the part of her brain that controlled her flight was quite concise in its answer to her desire to catch the duffel. No, her dragon reflexes told her, in virtually the same moment that the bag splashed into a puddle. Had it landed only a foot to the side, it would have been on the sidewalk. But a little luck was simply too much to ask, of course. With a regretful sigh, she released a great gout of steam and perhaps smoke. She had yet to use her fire breath, and landed on the sidewalk. She knew some dragons could transform from their dragon body to their human one as they landed, but she hadn't learned that yet. As a result, a massive, silver-scaled dragon landed on the streets of Detroit. It spoke to the long history of dragons presiding over human culture that no one really said anything. A woman with a stroller walked faster. A panhandler who had decided to stay in the frozen city rather than migrate south for the winter with most of the beggars flashed a cardboard sign at her that said, "We'll work for gold." A couple, holding hands and obviously still in the early stages of a relationship, slowed and decided to admire the architecture of the building across the street, instead of moving any closer to a grumpy-looking dragon. A little boy noticed her, though. At first, Kristen couldn't see where he was, but as he continued to shout, she realized he was in the third story of a nearby apartment.
Mom! Mom, look! It's the steel dragon! It's Kristen Hall! Hi, steel dragon!
The boy shouted. He must have been about 8 or 9.
Can I have your autograph? I read all about your battle with that shadow dragon guy. You're the best! Mommy, look!
The only adult response was the sound of the mother trying to get the boy to close the window to keep the cold out. Her child squawked in disappointment, indignant that his mom didn't want her young child associating with a dragon.
But, Mom, we were going to be friends!
The window closed, and Kristen picked her duffel up. It wasn't soaked through completely. Maybe by the time she reached the base, the stuff inside would be dry. That, of course, proved to be wishful thinking. She leapt upward, caught herself with her wings, and was airborne once more. This time, though, she held her bag a little more carefully. As she flew the rest of the way to the location Stonequest had shown her a few days before, she let her mind wander instead of indulging in more flying tricks. Even though she hadn't even started her new assignment yet, she already badly missed her old team. Still, she knew that she wasn't leaving them behind forever. She might be a dragon, but she would always think of herself as human, and humans needed human friends. Besides, at the very least, she'd want to vent to all her friends about the dragons. She had no doubt she would inevitably make serious gaffes when it came to dragon culture. Most dragons were centuries old. That gave them more than enough time to learn etiquette and all things dragon-related. Most of them still found riding in an automobile to be a real novelty. She had no doubt that she'd manage to offend them in ways she never could with her human friends. Still, even if she already missed them, Kristen was excited to work for Dragon SWAT. She had loved being part of the Detroit Police Department's most elite force, but once she'd activated her steel skin, it had become quite obvious that she was in a different league than her teammates. Even without her dragon form, she was faster, stronger, and had keener senses. Added to this was aura, which allowed her to not only make humans feel what she wanted them to feel, but could also give her a window into the emotional state of those around her. Although she was still learning how to do all that. With this promotion, or reassignment, or whatever you called it when you left humans behind to join dragons, she'd go from being the big fish in a small pond to merely another dragon. Kristen was certain there would be struggles, but she was excited by the potential to learn from other dragons in a way she simply couldn't from other people. Hopefully, there'd be far less bureaucracy. Captain Hansen had been a little obsessive when it came to paperwork. She finally saw the base. It was located in the Capitol Square building, which was actually quite close to her old police station. The 6-story structure was built of red brick on a corner where Griswold, Shelby, and Grand River all crossed.